This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, November 28th, 2005, and this is episode number 29 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm your host, Matt Hochberg from mgmstudios.org. Our panel today includes Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World, which can be found online at touringplans.com. Welcome, Len.
Welcome, Matt.
I know, it's getting hard to confuse you a lot with all the other people we have on this show. And we've also got Mike Scopa, who is a columnist at mouseplanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
You are not the first to pass this bay.
Nor will you be the last.
Well, today we're not talking about Norway. We're talking about Unheralded Treasures at the Animal Kingdom. And then a little later, we'll be talking about a half-day touring plan at Disney's Animal Kingdom. So let's start with the only guy on this podcast that actually enjoys being at the Animal Kingdom, Len Testa. Len, what's some of your Unheralded Treasures?
Well, there are a couple of things that I really like at the Animal Kingdom. And first of all, I don't know why you guys don't like it. I think it's an underappreciated park. I think you guys have been conditioned to run around looking for thrill rides instead of stopping to savor the environment that you're in. And I think part of this is Disney's fault for the Animal Kingdom. But that being said, there are a couple of really neat things that people should definitely look out for. One of them is the walkway between Africa and the Asia section of the Animal Kingdom. And this is it's a lush, green, canopied walkway that takes you from essentially Kilimanjaro safaris to the Kali River Rapids. And it's an interesting walkway, and it's something that everyone should do because it, like any good pathway, it contains a couple of different routes. It has little side detours where you can go off into and find quiet spots to sit and relax at a bench that's hidden from the rest of the path. It's got streams cutting through the path in which you go over on bridges. And if you're going from Africa to Asia, on the right-hand side, occasionally you'll see through the trees the actual Tree of Life, and it's a really good visual. But I actually like this too because it's also a way to get out of the sun during the middle of the day. The path is so well covered with trees that you get a pretty decent amount of shade. There's also restrooms on the left-hand side if you're walking from Africa to Asia, and I believe there are occasionally refreshment carts set up in some of these little cutouts on the right-hand side. There's also a smoking section on the way, and you'll actually pass the entrance to Flights of Wonder, which is another one of my unheralded treasures in the Animal Kingdom. I really like this show, and unfortunately I've never gotten any family member to go along with me because everyone in my family hates birds, and for me, I like them. But it's a really interesting show to see how well these birds are trained and how they appear in their when they're flying. It's a great show. It's really well done. It's fast paced, and it's shown 4 or 5 times daily at the Animal Kingdom. So that's my second unheralded treasure. I really like it. It's actually included in all of our touring plans, and guests rated I think 4 out of 5 stars in this year's Unofficial Guide. The other thing I really like is if you're eating lunch around Africa, be sure and stop off at Tusker House. I don't know where else you'd eat in Africa other than that, but in Tusker House there are these amazing panoramic photos that people have taken. And they weren't using digital cameras. Instead, they were using regular film cameras. And they were slightly moving the camera to the left or right for each picture. And then they glued all of the pictures together. So physically cut them out and glued them together, sort of overlapping the images from left to right. And that's how they made their panoramic photo. And some of the landscapes that they display on here are really, really interesting. It's something that anyone could do, even with a digital camera. If you send off your digital prints to like Snapfish or to Walmart or whatever, and get your pictures back, you could definitely do this. And with a little bit of practice, I've done a 360 of my entire house with this. But with a little bit of practice, you can definitely do it, and some of the results are pretty amazing. Finally, I think the last thing that as an unheralded treasure is the landscaping around Expedition Everest in Asia. And I know you guys don't like the park, but I'm telling you, when Everest is done and when all the landscaping is done, this is going to be beautiful. I'm telling everybody that the stuff that they're putting in around Everest is making Asia look like the theme park equivalent of Angelina Jolie. I mean, it's exotic, it's sultry, it's beautiful, and you just know that if it could, it might crush your heart if Everest doesn't turn out to be a really good ride. But I really like it. I think they've done wonders with the landscaping of the attraction. All the visuals from the bridges look really, really good. I think it's gonna be a hit. I really like what they've done with that section.
Well, you've hit upon one thing with your Everest comment, and I was going to recommend
Angelina Jolie. You want to expand on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But one of my unheralded treasures was to go actually on that little bridge where you can get a great view of the Everest construction and take a look at what's coming right there. Perhaps if you got a trip before the attraction actually opens, you'll still get a chance to be able to see what's going to be coming there, like you said, Len. And you can maybe even catch a test run of sandbags instead of people, or perhaps even people by the time you go down and see it. One of my other ones, my unheralded treasures, if there's a little walkway that you've probably been on if you've ever exited the Countdown to Extinction dinosaur ride, and it's a little, I call it the little Jurassic Park trail, because
Nice.
they have, yeah, it's not to reference another Orlando-based theme park, but it's got a few little dinosaurs over there, and they got the little ambient noise over there. It kind of takes you away from the rest of the park. It makes you kind of feel like you're in the Jurassic period. That is until you reach the huge gift shop. But before then, it's pretty nice. And my other unheralded treasure is if you want to see some veterinarians tend to medical needs of some animals, you just need to head over to Rafiki's Watch. And there are times that you can actually even see some operations going on, which is kind of interesting. So if you don't mind seeing animals, well, they might be hurt when you see them, but they'll be better at the end. So that's always something that you can see. Mike, what are some of yours?
First off, Matt, you sound like a big fan now of Animal Kingdom.
Oh yeah, woo! Go Animal Kingdom.
When I think of unheralded treasures, I think of something along the line of an unexpected pleasure in a theme park, something that was not advertised or hyped or marketed, and yet as a guest I noticed it, and I thought it to be something pretty cool. And earlier this year I happened to be visiting Orlando, and I went to the Animal Kingdom to check out Expedition Everest and see how it was going. And while I was in the park real early in the morning, I walked around and I said to myself, well, let's see if there are any unheralded treasures that I haven't discovered in the past. And one of the things that I really enjoyed, basically because there was nobody around when I was doing this, was I was walking around the Discovery Island trails at the base of the Tree of Life, and I was looking at the animal representations carved into the structure, and I was looking at the owl and the scorpion and the gorilla and that huge 6-foot rabbit that's on the base, and I was thinking, this is pretty neat. And it was nice because the water was running down. I could hear the water. It was really quiet. It was in the morning. It was a really nice moment for me. So that was somewhat of an unheralded treasure. I really enjoyed that. I think it was Len who mentioned Divine. If anybody gets to see Divine, it's just amazing. This cast member is dressed up as a large vine, and she just moves very slowly, and she moves very gracefully, and she is usually found up against a building, and she moves ever so slightly, and she's just got such a great talent. She just entertains the children. I think it's one of those attractions that's not listed, and I really think people should look for her, and she's usually found in Asia. Finally, there are two things that one Len mentioned, Flights of Wonder. Last year my wife and I decided to try it, and we were amazed at the birds and what they did and the amount of information we learned. It was very entertaining and it was very educational, and if I had young children I would drag them over there because they are going to like it so much they'll say, next time we come to the park, can we see this again? Finally, there is something that I saw last year, and I just thought it was pretty neat. It's the talking palm tree. It's similar to the talking waste bucket in Tomorrowland, or in the Magic Kingdom, whereby there's a cast member walking around with a remote control device and a microphone, and he will talk into this microphone, and he will carry on conversations with the young children, and it's really, really something neat to see that. It's just a part of Disney magic that we don't see as often as we used to, and it's just very much an unheralded treasure.
Hey, Mike, isn't that palm tree usually around my favorite part of the park, the exit?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
One joke. I get one joke, and that was it.
I've seen it. I've seen it there, and I think I might have seen it just inside the turnstiles as well.
Yeah, it's usually by the entrance,
Right.
give or take.
Right.
Great, and well, that's our unheralded treasures. But for the rest of the show, we're actually going to be talking about half-day touring plans, as perhaps you're getting to Disney, early in the day, the first day, and you've got some extra time, and maybe not enough time to devote to the whole park, or perhaps you're like me and can only stomach a few hours in the park. So we're going to talk about some strategies if you've only got a few hours to spend at Animal Kingdom on your trip. Len, where do we start?
I definitely want to start in Africa at Kilimanjaro Safaris, and the reason for that is at least until Everest opens in April. The Kilimanjaro Safaris is the most popular attraction in the park. So from the entrance, you're going to walk through the oasis and then go clockwise around Discovery Island to the entrance to Africa, head straight back through Harimbe, and in the back of Africa, to the left is the entrance to Kilimanjaro Safaris. Definitely want to ride that first. After that, as you're exiting the ride, it's a great time to walk the Penjani Forest Exploration Trail. And really, if you're exiting Kilimanjaro Safaris, you'll see the signs for it. It's right there. It's one of the two big nature walks in the Animal Kingdom. And since you're already there, you might as well walk it to save some backtracking. I think the third thing you want to do depends on the weather. Kali River Rapids is a very popular attraction in Asia. The problem with riding it is riders tend to get soaked with water, and you don't want to go sloshing around the park the rest of the day. So we're going to save that for later. And instead, we're going to head to Dinosaur in Dinoland, USA, everyone's favorite land in Discovery Island.
Oh yeah.
So interestingly, this is in the opposite corner of the park. If you consider the Animal Kingdom a clock face, Kilimanjaro Safari is just like at 11 o'clock, and Dinosaur is roughly at the 5 o'clock position. But still, it's best to ride this now because lines can get long for this. So after you've done the Penjani Forest Exploration Trail, next you want to do Dinosaur, and then I would say Festival of the Lion King. You want to work that show in at some point. Also, Tough to Be a Bug. Definitely want to get that in at some point. And then I would say the Maharaja Jungle Trek in Asia is very good, or Kali River Rapids. Definitely want to eat lunch at Flame Tree Barbecue in. Is Flame Tree Barbecue actually in Discovery Island, or is it considered Dinoland? I think it's Discovery Island.
I think it's Discovery Island also.
Yeah, definitely want to eat at Flame Tree Barbecue. Now, here's a tip for Flame Tree Barbecue. There's a covered gazebo. It's in the back and overlooks the water towards Asia that not a lot of people see. If you pick up your food from Flame Tree and turn to your left and walk to there'll be a little stand where you can pick up napkins and ketchup and forks and utensils and stuff like that. Once you do that, turn to your right. There's a walking trail. Follow it as far back and down as you can, and you'll to the left you'll see the covered gazebo. Not many people are willing to walk this distance to eat, but everyone will get distracted by a huge seating area to your left. But if you keep walking, you'll get to this covered gazebo, and it's really just a calm, quiet place to relax out of the sun and eat a meal, in a really picturesque setting. It's very good.
I just
and then after.
I was just going to say, when going back to your tip about riding Kali River Rapids, I wanted just to warn some of our listeners who perhaps have never ridden that, in that it's not going to soak you. I mean, Splash Mountain, some people think, will soak you, and Kali River Rapids is going to make Splash Mountain look like, your sink in your bathroom.
Yeah, Splash Mountain is like getting spritzed with a spray bottle in comparison to Kali River Rapids. You could actually be drenched when you come out. I've actually gone in and been so thoroughly soaked and so miserable. Actually, I did this one time during in December. I went and did Colorado River Rapids 10 o'clock in the morning, and then went into Tough to Be a Bug. Came out, I was so cold, my teeth were chattering. I had to go back to the hotel and change.
Wow.
It was that cold. Now I bring a poncho and wear that on the ride, and really strip down to the legal limit before I get off too. It's not a pretty sight. I'm just saying. But my daughter loves it. My daughter will go on that again and again and again and again and again. And for me, just getting smacked with water, it gets old after about 1 or 2 times. It's a pretty decent attraction. It's just not long enough. I mean, some of the scenery is pretty good. It's just not big enough. It's not epic enough for it to be a headliner. But I love the queue. The queue at Colorado River Rapids is probably the best queue in all of Walt Disney World.
It's probably also the longest.
Yeah, but it's really, really detailed. I mean, in fact, the whole Asia section, again, it's like the theme park equivalent of Angelina Jolie. It's beautiful.
Any tips for you for half-day touring, Mike?
Well, I pretty much agree with a lot of what Len said. When I go to the Animal Kingdom, it's usually for one half of one day, and I usually hit the Kilimanjaro safaris early because I realize that the animals will most likely be seen best in the morning when it's cool and the sun isn't beating down on them, and sometimes you can get there when they're being fed, so that's a good time to go to Kilimanjaro Safari. I then will, depending upon the timing of the shows, will head over to either Festival of the Lion King or Tarzan Rocks. Depending upon the time, depending upon if it's going to be a hot day, I'll probably do Tarzan Rocks early. And then I'll go over to Festival of the Lion King because the Festival of the Lion King theater is air conditioned. But I'll hit those 2 shows, and then it gets kind of funny after that, depending upon how I feel. Well, if I feel like I want to do Dinosaur, I'll do Dinosaur. That's about it. I might do the Maharaja Jungle Trek, and that's about it. That's about all I can handle. I might do Tough to Be a Bug, but the problem with that is that I see too many parents bringing in kids who are just not ready for that show. And I can't tell you how many times I've come out of that show and I see a mother on her knees saying, "It's not a real bug, it's not a real grasshopper," and the kid is just screaming. So I try to avoid that. But other than the Kilimanjaro Safari, the Festival of the Lion King and Camp Minnie Mickey, Tarzan Rocks, and maybe the Maharaji Trek, that's about it. That's all I can suggest right now.
Have you ever had a drink at the Dawa bar?
No. You offering me a drink at the Dawa bar?
We should all meet for a drink at the Dawa bar one day.
You know you've got drinking buddies down there, Lynn.
Sounds like a plan. Well, that's it for us today. This has been episode number 29 of Walt Disney World Today. Be sure to visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com for the show notes. And also you can email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. As always, look for our new shows on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays of every week. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.